Hello, welcome to episode 186 of the Datapack tutorial series, version 1.2, 1.4. We're going to be changing a block into a falling block. This is a request from Two Souls. Let me show you what I mean. Here's my little test area. Let's put a block there. And way it turns into a falling block. We can do the same for stone. And we can even do the same for cobweb. Okay, that's the general idea. What we do is we feed some coordinates in. You'll see here we're feeding in the coordinates and it will turn that block into a falling block. Right, there's going to be a bit of waffling in this video, so please feel free to jump around using the timestamps, because I'm going to go over how I sort of made it. And we're going to make it with an armor stand at first, and then we're going to convert it to using an item display to make it better. Just, you know, so we can see how a few things are done, really. Anyway, let's get on and build it now. There isn't a cut. I just like saying that. Right. So, the first thing, we cannot get the data of that. We need its ID, but if we do a data, let's attempt to spell correctly today. If we do a data entity block, or data get block, we'll see it's not a block entity. Okay. I don't know why I broke it, but what I can do is I can loot that, give myself the loot, as if I mined that block. I got a piece of sandstone. Okay. Now we're going to get our first problem. Let's replace it with stone, and we'll run exactly the same command again, but it's giving me cobblestone. And if we do it with a piece of cobweb, we run the command again, it's giving me string, even worse. It's not even a block. Okay, so let's have a look at why that is happening. So we pop over to Misode, and let's go to loot tables. Oh, they're at the top, that's helpful. And let's look at the preset for the stone. Okay, so stone, match tool, silk touch. Right, so if it's going to drop a piece of stone, it needs a tool, doesn't seem to care which tool, just any tool with silk touch on it. Okay, and we were just mining it normally. But if we look at something like grass, not the grass block, but the actual grass, we will see that that needs a specific tool. It needs shears. And if we look at something like cobweb, we will see that that needs specifically shears and silk touch. So we can keep all three of those groups. We can keep the stone happy, the grass happy, and the cobweb happy by having silk touch enchanted shears. One only cares about shears, one only cares about silk touch, and the other requires both. So let's shrink that down and let's adjust our command. So let's say, okay, I'm going to mine it, but I am going to be using some shears, and those shears will have enchantments, and enchantments will have levels, and remember we're in 1.2, 1.4, so you'd have to adjust this slightly for 1.2, 1.5, and that will have silk touch. We should be good. Let's use the namespace Minecraft : silk touch with a level of 1. Now you see that time I got the cobweb. And does it keep stone happy because stone only cares about silk touch? Yeah, we got the stone. Okay, so we fixed that problem. Right, now let's copy it to an armor stand. So I'm going to summon an armor stand. I have a function for that. And we'll look at the function in a minute, although it won't take long. It is literally just an armor stand with a tag, so I can target it. Okay. So, let's bring that command up again. Let's pop a block there. And let's run that command, but we don't want to give it to me. So let's go to this give s. Let's get rid of that. Let's do loot replace an entity, any entity. Now I should type equals armor stand. I'm not going to save time. Tag equals block holder. That's the tag that thing's got. And, oh, there, that's helpful. Armor head. Okay, so we've put the block on its head. So now if we change that, armor head. And I'll show you these commands inside VS Code as well, so you can see them better, don't worry. Now, we can also look at this guy now and do a data get from entity. We'll use his UUID. And we can see that down here in armor items, so let's write this down, armor items, which is a list. 0 is empty, 1 is empty, 2 is empty, but inside slot number 3, we have Minecraft Sandstone. So we have an ID. There we go. So we can target that with that. If you happen to be doing this and using armor stands in 1.2, 1.5, check the data because they changed it. It should be equipment.head.id, but we won't worry about that. Okay, so we can get the data from that now, and we can put it into storage or something, and then we can use a macro. So let's go over to the Datapack. Actually, let me just change this. This is using display convert. We'll use that in a minute. We'll press stand convert. And you'll notice here, I am passing these variables. Those variables are the coordinates of that block. So you can call this with a command or call it with another function. As long as it's got access to those coordinates, it will be happy. Done. Datapack. So stand summon. There we go. You see, it's just an armor stand with a tag block holder. And we're not going to focus on that because we're not going to be using an armor stand at the end anyway. So let's go to stand convert. Put the block onto the armor stand. Well, actually, I think probably quicker if we get that command we just typed and we copy it. Copy. We'll go back and we'll put it in there. Okay, so we are loot. We're replacing on an entity. Well, let's tidy this up a bit so it's a bit better. We should say, let's say nearest entity because there's only ever going to be one. And we will say type equals Minecraft armor stand. Tag equals block holder. We're just going to stick it on your head. And the loot we're going to get is if we're going to mine the block at this position with shears, which are enchanted with silk touch. Okay, so we don't want that position hard-coded. But remember, we are passing the X, Y, and Z. What did we call them? We called it X, Y, Z. Oh, so we called it X, Y, and Z. That makes it nice and easy. Okay, so let's chop you out. We'll have 3 of these. We will be using the X, Y, and Z instead. Now you are using arguments that were passed to you, so you will need a $sign at the beginning. We'll save that. Let's go back. Let's say done on that. So we should be able to just change that, call that function. Nothing happens because if you don't reload, then obviously nothing will happen. There we go. Great. So this is just running that function. Function stand convert, passing the coordinates. Okay. What if we put that on there? There we go. Okay. That's good. Now we can get the data from off that armor stand. But we'll remove the block as well. So let's copy that XYZ. Copy. And we'll do set block at those coordinates. Minecraft air. Might as well test it. Don't forget to reload. There we go. So he's got the block and the block is vanishing. Cool. Now we'll store the ID of that block. So let's do data modify storage. I always use ID data for my tutorials. ID data. We'll call it block ID because that makes sense. And we will set that from an entity. The entity will be, let's just copy this. We'll copy that armor stand. Where do we want to get it from? When we typed this up, when we had a look at its data, it was armor items 3.id, or if you're in 1.2, 1.5, equipment.head.id. Okay, let's save that. Let's go back. Let's stick something in there. Bit of stone. Press that button. Let's do a data get from storage. It says cobweb. Probably didn't do a reload then. Let's put a block there. There we go. Let's do data get again. Stone. Nice. Sandstone. Sandstone. Okay. So now we've got that ID stored in storage. That's what we wanted. We can do something with that now. Let's summon the falling block. So we better copy those. Copy. We will execute. Positioned. Let's just put 1, 1, 1 as a placeholder. Run function summon falling block. with storage ID data. So the function summon falling block will have access to whatever is in ID data, and inside there we have the block ID. Cool. Obviously we don't want position 111, so let's swap that out for the XYZ and put our $sign on the beginning. Save that. And that would be that function done. So let's go over to summon falling block. And here we will summon a Minecraft falling block. Let's do... Well, we've already positioned it, haven't we? Because we can see here we've done execute positioned. So we can just say where you currently are. And then that will need a block state. So let's do block. Yes, it is the capital version for this one. So block state will require a name. And let's say, let's just put it to stone. We've hard-coded stone, and we'll give it a time as well. Time 1. Save that. Let's go back. Let's do a reload. Now we did hard-code stone, so yeah, it's going to change to stone each time and fall down. So that works if we're doing stone. Let's change that to a macro. And remember, we passed block ID, so let's grab that. And let's just the stone. We're going to keep those speech marks either side. There we go. You're now using block ID, so you are using data that has been passed to you. You'll need the $sign at the beginning. We'll save that. Let's go back. Don't forget to reload. And we now should... Stone. Yep. Cobweb. Okay, so it works. Now, we could have an invisible armor stand, but I think you'd probably still see the item. We could put the armor stand somewhere else and hide it, but we don't even need to use an armor stand. And this will also get rid of the problem if you're on a different version of having to use equipment.head.id or armor items. What we'll do is we will use an item display. And to make it even more efficient, we will use an item display that has a hard-coded UUID. Okay, so armor stand, right. And we will change this now to use display convert. That's all we're changing. Okay, now let's pop over and let's go to stand convert. And I think what we'll do is we'll copy the whole lot. Because as we know, nothing ever goes wrong when you do that. Actually, I'll tell you, I changed my mind. I've changed my mind already. What we'll do is we'll do the load function first. And we'll summon an item display if one doesn't already exist. Okay, so I'm going to pop over to this Minecraft UUID converter. And I'm going to generate a random one. So I'll put the link in the description. It's up in the top of there anyway. Let's generate, any random one you want. Stop whenever you like. There we go, that'll do. Okay, so we've got a hexadecimal. That's what we're interested in, that one. And we also have this UUID. We're interested in that one. Okay, so the one I'm going to copy first is this hexadecimal one. So I think I can just do data. Let's go back and we will do execute unless entity paste. Okay, it's put speech marks on either side. I don't want those. Take them off. Okay, so it's going to look for an entity with that UUID, which is nice. We're not going to search for anything. It's just going to say, does that specific entity exist? If it doesn't, then we will run summon an item display. Let's summon it where we can see it. What you would do with this, I think, is you would just hide it down in a piece of bedrock in loaded chunks so it spawns somewhere and just leave it there. I'm going to summon it somewhere where we can see it. So let's get some coordinates here. Let's summon it there. 16, 57, 16. That'll do. Let's copy that. We're going to put it on top of that. Okay. Let's go back. Summon it there. Now, it is an item display, and I believe they always seem to summon themselves a little bit too low, so we'll move it up by 0.5. Obviously, You're not going to see this. You would hide this away. So it doesn't matter. You don't have to lift it up. That's just so we can see it clearly. Now we need to give it some information. And I need to give it a UUID. So I'm going to do UUID, open and close. And we don't use the hexadecimal. We go back to our website. We don't generate a new one. We still want the same one. And we want this UUID here now, these four. And for this, I'm just going to copy the data. And that should copy all four of them and the little bit at the beginning and the end. So let's go over my square brackets and paste that in. There we go. So these are the same UUID. They're just in different formats, which is just fun, isn't it? Okay, so that looks all right. We've summoned an item display. Now we'll go back and do the old copy. So let's go to our stand convert. Let's copy all of that. Copy. Let's take it to display convert and paste that in there. So some things are going to change to stay the same. Remove the block. That's going to be the same. Summon the falling block. Well, that's going to be the same as well. But where are we putting the data? That is the question. So loop replace entity. Well, it's not going to be this entity, is it? What we'll do is we'll go to our load function and we'll copy that UUID, the hexadecimal version. And let's get rid of that. We're not using that. Display convert. And we'll put that over over both of these. So let's copy over that one. That's the UUID over that one done. That looks good. And we will copy it over this one as well. So this is much faster now because we don't have to search for an entity. We're just saying, look, this entity. So that's good. But we're going to have the problem. Item display doesn't have a head. So we're going to have to change armor head. And that would be stored, I believe, in the contents. And now we need to store the ID of the block. We're not going to be getting that from armor items. We're going to be getting that from item.id. And let's, fingers crossed, do a little test. Reload. Let's stick a block up there. It certainly seemed to work. Okay, let's get the data. Data get from entity the nearest type equals. That's not going to autofill. Nearest type equals item display. So how did we know to get it from item? Well, we can see here, item, count 1, ID. So it's literally just item ID. That's a bit better. And that should be the same in 1.2, 1.4 and 1.2, 1.5. In fact, I don't think it's changed since item displays have been out. So that should always be there. Cool. So we speed it up. We're not looking for any old armor stand anymore. We are now looking for a specific UUID. That's much faster. And we're not using an armor stand. So we don't have all the rubbish that comes with the armor stand that we don't need. So this should, be working. We don't care what it looks like. It's flat. That doesn't matter. We're not going to see this. So we're basically done. Now, you either change where you summon this. It needs to be summoned into loaded chunks. So usually you've got spawn chunks. Summon it somewhere into spawn. Down inside, inside the bedrock. Or what you can do is, I'm not going to type out all this transformation information because we've done it so many times. I'm just going to add that on the end. Okay, so we're going to do transformation. Left rotation is default. Right rotation is default. Scale, we've made it very, very, very small. Let's make it just a little bit smaller. Oh, let's put that one back. There we go. So the only thing I wanted to change there was the scale. But I'll let you have a look. In case you haven't seen transformation information before, I'll let you have a look at that. So we need to put that in. For all of those who have seen it, that's why we didn't type it, because we've done it so often. Let's go and test this. Reload. Let's put a piece, something dark on there. Well, what happened? Why is it still big? Okay, we did a reload, but if we look at our load function, execute unless entity. with that UUID exists. And it does already exist. And we put that in so we don't, every time the Datapack loads, we don't create a new entity. So no new entity was created. So what we'll have to do, sorry, but type equals item display, you will have to go away. Oh, there must have been more than one there. I don't know why there's more than one there. Oh, it looks like dirt on my screen. No, there it is. There it is, just in the middle there. Okay. So you can make it small like that, or you can actually make, that's not where I wanted to go. You can make it so small that you can't even see it, and then who cares where it is? As long as it's in a loaded chunk, because we want to be able to access it wherever it may be. So as long as it's in a loaded chunk, let's go back. We'll have to do a reload. Well, we have to do a reload, but we'll have to kill that item display, and then we'll do a reload. Now it's so small that I don't think we'll even see it. So let's get something quite light. Let's put something dark there. Oh no, I can see it. Oh my god, it's tiny. Can you see it? It's just there. Just to the top left of my crosshair. Okay. I don't think anyone would notice that. And what you do is you just take it down and put it in the bottom bedrock layer. And worst case scenario, someone came to spawn and decided that they were going to blast through the bedrock to make under the bedrock access to the void. They're never going to see that. If they found that, well, give them a prize. So we're basically done. I'm going to do, I don't know why I had two of those things, so I'm going to do a couple of reloads, and I'm just going to make all item displays say hi. Because it would be nice to check that we only have one. Yeah, we've only got one. And if we do a reload, and we run that again, yeah, we've only got one. Okay, cool. So that is working. Whew, there we go. It wasn't as long as I thought it was going to be, but there was a bit of waffling. But now we can stick any item we like there and just feed the coordinates in. As I said, you don't have to run it from a command block. All you have to do is run the display convert function, and you pass it the X, Y, and Z of the block you want to change. So let's do this block here. 17 minus 18. Okay, so let's just change that 16 to a 17, passing a different coordinate. And now that one falls instead. Here's something to take note of, though. I don't think something like a command block would work. It just popped into my head. Because if you mine a command block, do you get a command block back? Why? Let's just test. I don't think the loot command would work for that. So we've got 1559 minus 18. 1559 minus 18. Or we just stick a command block in there. And we put that back to 16. Yeah, okay, so that doesn't work. So we can do it with stone. That's fine. We put a command block in there. The reason why it's stone, I'm going to guess. Let's try it with sandstone. Yeah, and now if we put command block, it should be sandstone. Yeah. The reason why, what's happening, is it's coming in. It's going to display convert. It's saying, I'm going to mine the contents of that. It's a command block. Command blocks drop nothing. Therefore, we're not doing anything into your head. And it might be coming here. It's either not replacing the sandstone and then copying the sandstone again, or it's just saying there's nothing on your head, so I'm not going to copy anything. In which case we get the block before. So there's going to be some blocks that aren't going to work. And something else, we're not taking into account block states, because we can't read the block state. Well, we can, but let's see. We've got a block there. It's not like that. It's like that. So this probably has an axis of X on it. We can't check that with data. We can check it with F3. Over here on the right hand side, right in the middle, we see axis X. If we move off to this block, we've got access Y. So we could do something like if block equals access X, then store X into storage, pass that to the summon command. If it equals Y, store Y. If it equals Z, store Z. But then we're going to get the problem that that's only going to do blocks that use that. What if it's a campfire that's lit or a campfire that's not lit? You're going to end up with a huge, massive sort of if-else statements. So if I run this, you'll see it will forget that and it will go to default. Like that. Okay. I think if we were going to make a system to take block states into account as well, this video is probably going to end up being a million years long. I might look into it, but there's just a few things, and I thought I don't have the time for it now. And I couldn't think of a good way to do it other than literally just saying, if it has block state this, then store this. If it has block state this, and you'd have to do that for every single possible type of block state. And then you'd have to check, well, did it have any block states? If it does have block states, then run a summon function that summons it with a block state. If it doesn't have block states, then run a different summon. And I thought, do you know what? This is going to be long enough. I'll leave it here. In fact, it has been long enough, hasn't it? So you get on, have a great day, and I'll see you all soon. Oh, look at my extra tall hat. Bye-bye.